Welcome everybody to the second and probably the most anticipated and exciting class profile we have here for you. We decided, my good friend Ross and I wanted to go over the monk today, which he is actually currently playing in our game at Bioka Academy.
After talking about it with you, I have like a new understanding of monk. Like, I was excited before, but I'm just that much more excited.
Actually, when I was doing research for this video, I was kind of getting jealous that I didn't decide to play monk myself, especially because the monk has like these piles and piles of class features that I didn't really see in any other class.
Like, we're not even that far ahead, and I didn't think he would be as powerful, I guess, whenever I started him. And I'm like noticing already, like, I'm very glad I picked this.
So let's get started. We're talking about the monk. Do you have any thoughts that you have for anyone about building a monk? I mean, what came in mind when you built Dino?
I wanted to start by playing a class that I had never played before, because that is just the way I like to play. And the thing that stood out about monk was, like, I wanted to be tank-like, but I didn't want to be like the tank. And I feel like the monk is something that is a good class to kind of like be sturdy enough to like maybe back up the tank.
Yeah, you know, the monk has a D8 hit die, which is actually kind of like the rogue, but you know, it offers very similar, I guess, flexibility that the rogue has. There's a lot of movement options that you have just naturally and among some of the subclasses. You get your saving throws and strength and dex, which is really powerful as a martial class.
That's definitely one thing I wanted Dino to be.
And it's surprising that this class offers so much in the strength field. But one of the first and most important ones is the martial arts.
Oh, the martial arts are really cool.
Yeah, Now we did a lot of research on this on our last game because we kind of, fought each other a whole bunch.
Yeah, like, but no one was a monk, so the martial arts didn't quite apply. It was a lot of unarmed strikes that incidentally it was 1 plus your strength modifier.
Yeah.
So which was the non-lethal damage it could do. And the monk, being a monk, is able to take a 4 plus dexterity modifier, which leads to a pretty powerful unarmed strike.
And it levels up.
Yeah, I'm not trying to build One Punch Man. I think 5e just kind of helps you build One Punch Man eventually. Which, by the way, martial arts, like, you can start doing your consecutive punches pretty early on, because the martial arts allows you to do an extra attack if you don't take a movement action. Which
that's cool.
I didn't know because I just wasn't paying attention, which is why these videos can be so useful.
A big part of playing monk is ki. A lot of people have this mindset, this idea when they think of the monk.
Ki, like, just right there in the player's handbook, is talking about like being able to sense the life energy within people, like drawing it from like the multiverse, it even says, which I feel like it seems pretty cool given the setting that we're also playing in, because we're like astral projecting. Kind of gives you a little bit of a Jedi feel, Spidey sense. I feel like that's like quintessential to giving it like a good kung fu vibe. Obviously, every time you see someone playing monk, like, you're gonna hear about fleuria blows. And every time you see it, you're almost taken aback by like how effective it is. Just costs you 1 point of ki to do, and it can be a game changer in some circumstances.
Similar to the rogue, you can spend a ki point to use the dodge action as a bonus action on your turn, which is pretty cool, but if you think about it, it does eat up action economy. However, you know, if you are playing a squishy monk, it's kind of nice to not have to worry about being hit all the time.
While you want to be able to do like lots of damage with those flurry blows, you feel tempted to spend them as quickly as possible, but you never know when something that you might need to dodge might hit you, and you can't punch people if you're dead.
In the same kind of flavor or vein of thought, you have the Step of Wind, also eating up your bonus action economy. But if you think about it, the rogue also eats up their bonus action economy when they use their cunning action for the similar effect. So I guess the trade-off is you eat up a bonus action economy and a key point, which is a little taxing if you think about it. But
Yeah.
very nice to have when you talk about that D8 hit die and you know.
It's one of those things where you have to be a little more calculating. I completely understand like why one would need to disengage and maybe dash away from an enemy. Unarmored movement, starting at second level, your speed increases by 10 feet while you're not wearing armor or wearing a shield, and the bonus increases when you reach certain monk levels that you can see on the monk table. And at 9th level, you gain the ability to move along vertical surfaces and across liquids on your turn without falling during the move. Like, how cool is that? Yeah, I can't even think of how many ways I will totally use that. Deflect missiles. You can use a reaction to deflect or possibly catch a missile projectile when you're hit by a ranged weapon attack. When you do so, the damage you take from the attack is reduced by 1d10 plus your dexterity modifier plus your monk level. And if you reduce the damage all the way to 0, you can catch it and use one hand to redirect it, which could possibly hit another person. And I'm really excited about our potential play of Don't Shoot Me Bro, which is my plan for Kai to shoot Dino in a fake argument for us to get the surprise on an enemy. Yeah, slow fall's pretty cool. Like, I think it's probably one of the more underrated things, but at 4th level, you can use a reaction when you fall to reduce any falling damage you take by an amount equal to 5 times your monk level, which you never know when that's going to be useful, but you get it, and might save you some time.
Extra attack is very self-explanatory. The one cool thing about the monk is because you can get training in acrobatics and athletics, you can grapple and then use your extra attack to punch them while you're holding them. So that is a nice little flavor thing that not every extra attack class would choose to do.
Stunning Strike, starting at 5th level, you can interfere with the flow of ki in an opponent's body. When you hit another creature with a melee weapon attack, you can spend 1 point of ki to attempt a Stunning Strike. The target must succeed on a Constitution saving throw or be stunned until the end of your next turn. Being able to everyone bombard that person, and they just that person could just be out in a matter of a turn.
This one's really cool. It makes your fist count as magical as for purposes of overcoming magic resistant, very similar to, say, like the Moon Druid and their magic claws, or any other class that gets a similar feature. However, in late game, almost every enemy has resistance to non-magical weapons, which makes the monk very viable in late levels for pretty much any enemy.
So evasion, much like the rogue, 7th level, your instinctive agility lets you dodge out of the way of certain area effects such as Blue Dragon's Lightning Breath or Fireball spell. When you're subjected to an effect that allows you to make a dexterity saving throw to take only half damage, you instead take no damage if you succeed on the saving throw and only half damage if you fail.
I imagine a group that has a rogue, a monk, and then maybe a paladin with shield master. The dragon breathes its fire breath, and everyone just sits there with no damage.
Stillness of mind, starting at 7th level. You can use an action to end one effect on yourself that is causing you to be charmed or frightened. Although Dino is a half-elf, and he can't be charmed or frightened by Fey energy. It'll be useful not to be charmed or frightened by anything else at 7th level.
This one's cool. Also pairs well with a good paladin, saving them up some resources for other people. Once you get purity of body, you're immune to disease and poison.
Tongue of Sun and Moon is a pretty cool one. Starting at 13th level, you learn to touch the key of the minds of others so you understand all spoken languages, which is excellent for RP.
Yeah, it's the cooler version of the wizard spell.
Yeah, and like you can just do it as a free action. So with Diamond Soul at 14th level, the Mastery of Ki, it's gonna give you so many, like all of your proficiency saving throws. Just to spend 1 point of Ki to reroll for a second roll is mind-blowing to me. And when I saw that, I was like, being able to use my proficiency on all my saving throws, sometimes the saving throws kill you worse than just like missing an attack.
Most of the time.
Actually, all the time.
Just imagine it as indomitable, but better.
Timeless Body at level 15. Your key sustains you so that you suffer none of the frailty of old age, much like the Druid gets, which it's pretty cool, and also that you don't need to eat or drink anymore, but like it also can give you some pretty good RP moments, like if you have like long-standing games. Empty Body, level 18, you can use your action to spend 4 points of ki to become invisible for 1 minute. Like, sounds like a high cost, but you never know. Like,
especially because during that time you have resistance to all damage, except for force.
And also, like, you never know, like, because as you level up in Monk, you start to accumulate lots of key points.
And the last cool bit about this is you can spend 8 key points to become a Jedi. I mean, to become Luke Skywalker. I mean, to astral project. Sorry.
In our current game, I feel as though that might just be a little redundant, but in all other games, that's a very useful thing to be able to do.
Especially if you're doing like a Horizon Walker, Horizon Walker on your team, and you're doing like a planar shifting or like a god one, like kind of like our last game. That might have been really useful.
Let's finish it off with Perfect Self at level 20. You can when you roll for initiative and you have no key points left, you can regain 4, which honestly, like sometimes your DM or GM is gonna throw just one extra guy at you that you weren't anticipating, and you like just used all those key points on the previous one. That's a very useful thing to have.
All right, subclass time.
At level 3, when you're building your monk, you get to choose a monastic tradition. Among those traditions, you can follow Way of the Open Hand. When you choose Open Hand, you get the technique of Open Hand, which means you can manipulate your enemy's ki when you harness your own. Whenever you hit the creature with one of these attacks, granted by your flurry blows, you can impose one of the following effects on that target. It must succeed on a dexterity saving throw, or you knock it down. You must make a strength saving throw. If it fails, you can push it up to 15 feet away from you. It can't take reactions until the end of your next turn, which that one just by itself makes me kind of want to go Open Hand, because you can just completely make someone just unable to fight you. Like, and plus, like, as soon as they're prone, like, if you knock them into a group of your own people, then they all get a shot in.
The monk has this really cool, just in general, ability to burn down monsters' legendary resistances very inexpensively. Spending like maybe 3 key points, you can eliminate a dragon's legendary resistance, their daily quota. That brings me to Way of the Kensei, another one of the subclasses you can pick. I really like this one, especially if you have a DM that you know doesn't like to hand out magic items. Eventually you get to turn your weapons into magic items for the purposes of undercutting resistances, very similar to what your fist can do, but now you can do it with a weapon. And also you can make an unarmed strike, and if it works or fails and they counterattack you, you can parry with your weapon, getting a +2 AC. Further digging into this really awesome monk characteristic you can do. And you can spend up to 3 key points to make your weapon a +3 weapon. So now it's magical. Now it's +3.
I mean, like that subclass by itself, pairing it with like fighter or even paladin. Like, what are you gonna do about this? No, you're not going to do anything about it. All right, so Drunken Master is actually the one that I think I am finally landed on with Dino. And the reason it excites me is because, like, just at level 3, you get a just magnificent ability, in my opinion, which is when you use your flurry of blows, spending 1 point of ki, you can choose to disengage as a free action. You gain the benefit to just disengage as an action, and your walking speed also increases by 10 feet until the end of the current turn. So that means if like I just lay out a flurry of blows on anyone and choose to walk away, I'm just like, all right, peace, man, and I can just walk over and just do it to another dude.
I think that's the cheapest disengage in the game.
Yeah, I believe
especially
you're right.
since as a monk you're probably flurry blowing anyways.
Yeah, like, so it just opens you up for the possibility of kind of even spreading out your attack, because you can, like, if you choose to stay there, basically, you can attack a person in front of you and a person next to them using that extra attack you already have. Or you can just choose to disengage and go over to another group of people and do the same thing, which honestly is the thing that made me change my mind from Way of Shadow to Way of the Drunken Master. But so, if you keep on leveling in Monk, eventually at level 6, you get the Tipsy Sway. You can move in sudden swaying ways, and you gain the following benefits of leaping to your feet when you're prone and only spending 5 feet of your movement action rather than half your speed. That is incredibly useful. And you can also gain the benefit of redirecting attack, which is, in my opinion, basically deflect missiles, just with melee attacks instead of ranged, because you can spend a key point as a reaction to basically attack another creature with the attack intended for you, as long as it's within 5 feet of you. You get the Drunkard's Luck. You always seem to get a lucky bounce at the right moment. When you make an ability check, an attack roll, or a saving throw, and have disadvantage on those rolls, you can spend 2 points of key to cancel out that disadvantage.
I think it's fair to say that the Drunken Master is probably unparalleled in movement ability in the game. Yeah.
That's fair to say. Like, that's the reason why I'm so glad that we decided to do this, because had I not really delved into Drunken Master, I would have known that, and that's like the thing I really wanted to build with Dino. And the final thing at level 17, you get Intoxicated Frenzy, which gives you the ability to basically walk up to a group of people and just use your flurry of blows on as many as you want, basically, but you can make up to 3 additional attacks on top of the 2 extra attacks you do get, so a total of 5 flurry of blows, provided that each flurry of blows attacks targets a different creature this turn.
The Way of the Sun Soul, I actually had a very low opinion of until I started doing the research for this video, and I'll probably go into more on why I think this one, what changed my opinion about this class when I talk about the 4 elements one, because they're very similar on some levels. But what's cool about this one, I call it the Dragon Ball Z class. You can you turn your fist into basically a ranged weapon. You can shoot out radiant blasts. You can make these giant, powerful, basically radiant versions of fireballs that you can just dunk on enemies. If you're doing a Demon Hunter campaign, this is the class you take. It has all the amazing parts about a monk on top of just like all the stupid radiant damage potential, your movement speed, all the fun stuff that you normally want to get. Now with ranged attacks, if you're fighting zombies, nothing will mow it down faster. And you can quote me on that, Paladin fans. All right, because I'm one too. But the big attack it gets at level 11, you get a literal spirit bomb that uses your ki, and you can dump more ki to make it more powerful. Dunk that on an enemy. If you got a demon in your way, it's melted.
Way of the Shadow. Right there at the first level, you can use your ki to duplicate the effects of a certain spell as an action. You can spend 2 points of ki to cast Darkness, Dark Vision, Pass Without Trace, or Silence without providing any material components, and you gain the Minor Illusion cantrip if you don't already know it, which Minor Illusion by itself is so useful, and all of these spells are pretty high level spells, if you ask me, that you get at level 3. Like, being able to Pass Without Trace, that is a plus 10 to your stealth. Like, pair that with a rogue, and that is probably the most broken, like, stealth build I could think of. Like, including with at level 6, you get the Shadow Step, which makes you able to teleport from shadow to shadow, given that it's within 60 feet of where you're teleporting from.
this would do really nicely if you're doing an Underdark campaign, or if you're doing a bunch of dungeon crawls, which is the direct counter to the Sun Soul. Except for the Sun Soul at the high level gets a radiant light. So the Sun Soul at level 17, they emit light, and if someone hits them, they burn them. Kind of like the Paladin aura. So if you really wanted to have two people that are constantly bickering on your team, get away the Shadow No Sun Soul. And
I would like to see a matchup between straight monk build, the Way of the Shadow and Way of the Sun Soul, just because of the duality of that alone.
Oh yeah,
makes it seem really funny.
It would. Unfortunately, though, I think it actually might end up badly for the Shadow, because
me too.
Eventually, the monk, the Sun build, is just doing all this radiant sunlight blasty damage. And
yeah, also illuminating the room, thus making his stealth.
If you really
completely useless.
If you really want to piss off your party, and you got a bunch of like sun sensitive, you got like a drow, you have a kobold on your team, pick a sun monk and and watch as they're all blinded constantly while you're attacking. They're just the most visible light oriented class that exists. But this leads us on to our last one, which is the Way of the Four Elements. And I won't really go into much detail because there's a lot about this class that's pretty cool. It is very similar to the Sun Soul, where it is, I call it a half caster, and here's how I get to that math. So at level 11, you can cast Fireball, which is a level 3 spell. Half casters at level 11 are also able to cast level 3 spells, so I'm just kind of saying it's roughly equivalent to that. The Four Elements and the Sun Soul are getting this level 3 spell at 11, and they can cast 2 of them with the amount of ki that they have at the point. A half caster would probably be able to cast 3. However, this is the cool part. Fireball is kind of like the D&D litmus test for the most powerful spell at its level. It deals a ridiculous amount of damage, and it's quite a low level spell that you can learn it. However, the Ranger and the Paladin, the other half casters, they cannot get this spell. So if you're considering a half caster and you want to do a martial class, and you say, well, look at the Way of the Four Elements, look at the Sun Soul, because you actually get quite a bit of magic damage output that you wouldn't expect from a martial class. On top of that, the Way of the Four Elements gets a lot of battlefield control spells. You get a water whip, you have some wind spells, think of it as like an airbender character. If you want to play an Avatar modeled themed character, this is the way you go.
That's what I was going to say.
You have a lot of viability, you have a lot of options, and a lot of really cool flavor things you can do, on top of quite a bit of damage potential.
Reading through all this, you really just can sense the versatility of the monk. Like, if you want to be very combat heavy, you have all these options, like Way of the Open Hand, Drunken Master, or if you feel like you want to do a little bit of spell casting, like Sun Soul and Four Elements can give you some combat prowess while also being able to use spells, and that's pretty cool. You can come up with some really neat characters. For one, I'm just very excited to play what we've come up with. Very glad to have come across the Drunken Master with the ideas that I had before with my multi-classing into Barbarian.
The monk is fantastic. You're burning down the enemy's defenses. You can wiggle through the battlefield. You can help out everyone in your party almost as effectively as a healer without actually healing them. It's kind of like that proactive defense that the monk has. There's a lot of really cool, flavorful things you can do about it, and I think the monk, as far as like flavor and design, is one of the best flavorful characters that you can build. Every single class, you can make something completely brand new and unique and bring something to your party that no one in your group or party has probably seen before, even if they've played another monk. There's so many differences. In fact, just alone us talking about the Sun Soul and the Shadow being complete opposites, they're not the only ones like that. Kensei and Open Hand are very different. One's weapons only, one's no weapons at all, so there's a lot of stuff in there. After doing this video, after doing all this research, I was kind of kicking myself. I'm like, man, I want to play monk now, but I'll have to save it for the next game.
There's always a next game.
But look forward to our next video. Maybe we will do, I'm surprising him with this right now, but maybe we can do a Barbarian video. I don't know too much about Barbarian other than what my players have done in my games, so I think maybe that might be something fun. You're interested in that?
Yeah, we could do a Barbarian video. I think our viewers might be interested in knowing that Dino may also take a few levels in Barbarian as it is.
So then maybe that's a hint for a multi-class video, but I think we'll get more people involved with that because I think we have a lot of multi-classers.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, we'll end the video with that. A little allusion to our next video. If you have a favorite monk class, please put it in the comment section down below. And don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button and hit that little bell if you want to hear more from us. We know the books very well, and we do our research before we do these videos, as you can tell. And I think all of us, especially, you know, these guys, Ross and I have been playing games for almost a decade now. Yeah,
you're right.
Way to age us, but you know, we have a lot of fun doing this, and we want to have all you guys have the same experiences and same fun with us. We know this game's gonna last forever, and I'll leave you with any closing thoughts, and we'll see you in the next video.
And I'm excited to make more videos talking about class builds because I feel there's so much I would not have even known just if we didn't break these down. So, like, we know our stuff to a degree, but like doing this, we're learning with you in a way.
Blow up our comment section. We need those. We love hearing from you guys, and it brings us joy to see that we have an active community. So for all of you who love D&D, please make sure, once again, hit these buttons down here. We need them pressed because we love you guys, and the more presses of these buttons, the more our love that we can share with you.
And also take a look at our Patreon, because we have a Patreon, and it's going to be right there.
I forgot about that. Oh no. We'll see you in the next video.